welcome to another Monday Momentum where I'm here to share a good word with you. Today, we're going to talk about how to handle conflict like a leader. Listen, one of the most important things that you can do for your career, for your maturity, for your responsibility is handling conflict like a leader. Have you ever been in that situation where you saw a conflict happen and you knew this is not going to end well? Like, have you ever been in that situation where, and I see what's going on, Miss Jackson, right? Have you ever been in that situation where you knew that the conflict is going to lead to people leaving the space, where you knew that people was going to use the conflict as an excuse to not buy in? This is because we don't necessarily handle leadership with the goal and intent of having positive change. Emphasis on positive. One of the most important things that we all can do is making sure that we're handling conflict like a leader, because the reality is, one, it's inevitable. Two, it's always going to happen. Three, it's actually sometimes an opportunity for you to see not your demise, but your development. Right? Conflict is always an opportunity for you to not just see what is the hardship that you have to face, but also it helps you create a pathway for somebody else's success. What up, Jim Fry? What's going on? I see you. I know this is your topic, right? So jump on in. And one of the things I need you to know is that great leaders don't just handle conflict, they handle it without blowing everything up. And so today what we're going to talk about is how to stay calm under pressure. We're going to also address some issues that are damaged relationships because of conflict. And then also we're going to talk about some practical real world strategies that can get you started like right away. And so, of course, this replay is going to be available on YouTube. So, of course, hit the like, subscribe, and share. And so here's the first thing I need you to know. I want you to get to the bag. This is for all students. This is for all folks who are following me. The goal of all the stuff that I'm doing is to help you secure the job of your dreams or the career of your dreams. And so knowing that is also knowing that you're going to deal with conflict. And so there's a couple different ways that you got to see this whole thing. One, there's conflict interpersonally. And so there's going to be conflicts that's going to happen between you and other people, or you're going to see conflicts happen between other people. And what I need you to know is that that conflict is a one level of conflict that you might face in an organization. The second level of conflict is dealing with organizational problems. And so these might not be necessarily conflict between people, but these might be conflicts that are causing the organization to run inefficiently or not run as effectively. And so these could be things like I'm a teacher, right? I'm a professor. I teach in the college of education. One of the big problems in the college of education across the country is that people don't want to be teachers. And so that is causing some financial issues. That's causing some credit issues. That's causing some issues with administration of seeing the value of having a college of education. And so these are the other level, deeper level types of conflict that you will definitely be having to deal with when you become a professional. And so one of the first things I need you to know is about mindset. Like, your mindset is literally going to be the key indicator of how you deal with conflict. And so let me tell you a little quick story about my son really quick. We were playing tennis and he just wasn't hitting the ball. He was just having this issue with the game. He almost even gave up. And so I kind of pulled him to the side. I stopped for a second. I just said, hey, like, your gratitude is going to determine your altitude. And so if you have an issue with how you're swinging or not hitting the ball, part of it is getting your attitude to a level that recognizes that, one, you just should be happy that you can just grab a tennis racket, that you can swing it freely, that you can throw it around, that you can hit it as hard as you want. Like, nobody's stopping you. That changed his mindset. And before you know it, he went from hitting no balls in a row to hitting 15 balls over the net in a row. And so a lot of times we just stop ourselves from reaching our full potential because of our attitude, because of our mindset. And so here's some things that I want you to think about, right? Leaders first do not fear conflict. They see it as an opportunity to face it with curiosity and with intention. Leaders don't fear conflict, they face it. And so I remember when my brother was murdered and I had a chance to start high school with the same mindset that I ended middle school. I didn't graduate from middle school. And so I went into high school depressed, grieving my brother's death. And that situation got me thinking about, how do I want this experience to go? Do I want it to go where I ended up being a 0.5 student, where I wasn't involved, where I didn't really hang out with friends, I was to myself, I sat on the couch all day in my own grief, in my own depression? Or did I want it to go differently? And although, yes, I can definitely say I was angry, I was frustrated, but I started to think, how could I change my mindset by just being a better person? By trying my best to be as happy as I can, to be as positive as I can. And y'all, that changed my entire outlook on school. That changed my whole experience in the workplace. It changed my mindset on how I deal with conflict. And so, listen, what you need to know is conflict isn't a battle to win, it's a problem to solve. Also, thinking about it like this is, why avoid conflict when it only makes the situation bigger? Like, avoidance can be one of those things where if you avoid situations, it can bottle up and bubble and bubble and bubble until you erupt like a volcano. And this is where you have students, this is where you have people who make hasty decisions, maybe get into a fight with somebody or something like that because of their emotions. They're not thinking clear. Or when a conflict comes up and you're bottling it up and bottling it and bottling it up, oftentimes it literally erupts on the wrong person. And so now you're breaking down relationships. You're not putting yourself in the right position to be able to build with people. You're breaking things down. And so the difference between reacting and responding is literally that. Like, if you react, of course, you might hit somebody, you might yell at somebody, you might push somebody, you might do something that you'll regret. But when you respond, you take a moment to think, what is the right thing to do? What am I feeling right now? Is this something that I can deal with right now? That's something that you need to definitely think about when dealing with conflict. So here's some more things to think about when you think about everyday type of scenarios of how to deal with conflict and how to lead through some of those situations. And so first thing first, workplace communications. Oftentimes we read emails and we don't realize that that email is literally the thing that's kind of pushing our nerves a little bit. Whether that person wrote it the wrong way, whether that person is putting exclamation marks in somewhere, something on that line. Like, what I need you to know is that it's really important for you to maybe take a pause moment and say, what are they really trying to say? Can you assume good intentions? Can you believe that a person is not necessarily trying to make this a bad situation? Maybe they're trying their best to communicate what's going on through the conflict, but the email is not allowing them to do it well. And so this is where you might need to say, hey, can we pick up the phone and talk to each other? Can we make a phone call? Can we communicate with each other? Like, verbally communicating, because a lot of times what that does is that creates opportunity for people to hear the sincerity in your voice, to help them believe that there is no ill intent that's really trying to be had here, that the goal is to really push ourselves to be the best people in this situation that we can be. And maybe I just need to hear your voice in saying that, right? You might have some team tension or some uneven contributions. right? And so what we need to know is that like carrying the team can be super exhausting, and also it can lead to resentment. And so what you can do in that situation is you can ask yourself, what's going well? What's going good? How can we deal with this in a way that's also going to push us to a better space? Like, also ask the question of what can we adjust? What needs to be improved? How do we move ourselves in a way so that we can acknowledge the issues, but not necessarily make the person feel like invalidated? Number 3, right? So conflict with supervisors and colleagues can be hard, especially if it's a supervisor, because you don't want to come off as disrespectful. You don't want to come off as not bought in. You don't want to come off as insubordinate. It's so many things, right? And so the question is, can you agree to disagree? Can you disagree respectfully? Like, one of the things I like to do is like I like to ask a question when I'm addressing a colleague or a supervisor. And so I'll ask like, hey, is there a good time that we can revisit that last situation? Or, hey, what I'm seeing is this. Can we talk through some options that might allow us to be able to come up to a resolution that we both agree with? Like, these are two very important things that will really help you be thinking deeper about what is the next step for you to resolve this conflict with a colleague or a peer or a supervisor. And then if you have intentions in your personal relationship, right? And so personal conflicts can hit deeper, but leaders still show up and try to gain clarity. And so a goal is to maybe use I statements. So when I heard this, I felt this. When I saw this, I thought this. And then you can ask, can we talk about what I saw? Can I talk about what we heard? Can we talk about what was happening? This is another opportunity for us to really push ourselves forward and see that we all have our own ways that we saw things, that we perceive things. And so how can we do that is by creating a space where we can at least open up these conversations fairly and supportively, right? And so part 3, right? So now we're going to talk about conflict resolution strategies that actually work. And so 1, listen to understand, don't listen to respond. And so oftentimes when we are in these kind of conflicts, one of the first things we want to do is just be like, well, you said this, I'm gonna cut you off because you said that. Oh, I'm gonna hit every little thing that you said. When the reality is the goal is to actually listen to everything that the person is saying so that we can fully flush out what is being communicated. Am I listening to understand a person's point of view, or am I listening to argue my own point of view? 2, need to regulate your emotions, right? And so if your emotions are in control, then that means that you are not in control. And so what you need to do is take a pause. Breathe and then respond. Don't react. Respond. Pause. Breathe. And then respond. That's going to help you out. Another thing that you want to do is focus on the person. No. Another thing you want to do is focus on the issue and not the person. So attack the problem, not the person. Say the problem is the issue, not the person is the issue. Say, well, you want to be like, what? You said you are the person that did this and did that. This is. Or you can say, the problem is this happened. The fact is, this is what I saw. And so let's focus on the behavior. Let's focus on the problem. Let's focus on the issue and not necessarily focus on who the person is, how the person is, the kind of person the person is, right? Because that's not going to change. People are going to be people. People gon' people. But you can say, hey, this is the problem that I saw with you or with the situation. Not necessarily with you, with a situation. The goal is, again, you don't want to come to conflict with more problems to talk about. Like how many times have you actually had a conflict with somebody and then you brought up all the different problems that they had before the conflict, which led up to the conflict, and came up with a good solution, came up with a good resolution? That really rarely happens. And so what you got to do is really think deeper about what is it that you want to gain out of this? What is it that you want to hope to gain out of this? And like come to the table with that solution. And then also always say, like, I'm open to your feedback, but here's some of the solutions that I thought about. That's going to always help you think deeper in the future. Right? And so another thing is like knowing to step back. Like every conflict doesn't need to be solved right now. And so take space, revisit the tough conversation, and then when things cool off, come back to it. Like take a step back sometimes. Like don't push yourself to be the be all end all of a problem right then, because sometimes nothing's gonna happen. Emotions are flying, people are angry, people are frustrated, and so many times it's not gonna even come up to nothing that's gonna actually work. And so take a break from it and then come back to it. Always gonna help. And so here's some conclusions that I definitely want to make sure that you take away from this situation. Conflict is inevitable. It's unavoidable, but how you show up in it defines your leadership. If you show up angry, frustrated, that's going to define your leadership by whoever else is in that situation. But if you show up positive, if you show up caring, empathetic, that's going to be the takeaway that people have about your leadership. Staying calm, staying curious, and aim for solutions, not to be the winner, but just to be a part of the process of deciding what the solution is. You want to create a community where people care about the solution more than they care about the problem. And so as leaders, our goal is always to focus in on the solution, to get us there, to guide us there, to move people to that direction, and not stay so deep in the mud of the problem. The last thing is the strongest leaders are not the most loudest. They're the most intentional. The strongest leaders are the people who really take their time to not react, but respond with care, with understanding, with an ability to call people in and not call people out. And so I hope this helped you. If this was a great one, hit the like button. Of course, share, like, subscribe for my YouTube folks who are going to watch the replay. If this was good, again, leave a comment. Let me know how this thing was. Which strategy resonated with you the most? Let me know in the comments. And of course, as always, keep doing the good work.